Hi, my name is Carl Richard, and here I am going to answer a question about what can I as a parent do today that can really make a huge impact on my child's tennis, on my child's sport going forward. How do we motivate? How we keep our child in the sport? A few critical things about how can we get the most out of a possible new sport, out of a possible coaching environment going forward, and how to motivate kids. So a little bit, and the ins and outs of how to get the most out of kids. So, first of all, if I want to be the best parent in this situation, what do I need to be doing right now to get the best result from my child? What should I be focusing on? What is the vocabulary? What are the words? What are the frameworks? What am I measuring every time that my child comes off a field, off a tennis court? What am I supposed to be asking them? And how do I know whether they're having a great time or a bad time? How do they know what kind of filters are they going to be using to maximize their performance going forward? And most important, what should I not do? What is critically important that you have to avoid like the plague? Please do not touch it. It's like poison ivy, and it's just detrimental, and it just erodes their self-confidence, your confidence, and it just creates a negative kind of paradigm that unfortunately does not have good ramifications going forward into the future. Now, if we look at the primary focus of the child and if we look at their sporting career in any one specific sport, I'm going to use tennis as a framework right now. But if you're going forward and you see like this arrow going forward up to the side, the first thing is feelings, okay? Try and create a great environment and feelings in the child. Then the next one is fundamentals, which is the sport fundamentals. So they've got to have basic skills within the sport. And then the next level up is strategy, tactics, all that kind of stuff. So all of that is pretty critical in learning a sport. So please look after the feelings in the beginning, because that will bind them and then they can carry forward to all the others. So that creates some follow through in tough times. That creates some real spark of talent that pushes them into practicing when they really don't feel like it, but in some ways they do, and you create a great work environment. So there's a lot of good things about that. So a child must actually be good. So what does that mean? A child wants to feel like they're succeeding. So you got to tell them what you're measuring. And the best framework to use is you must reward good effort and good attitude, and everything else is a bonus when they actually practice. So as long as they're trying as hard as they can, and as long as they have a great mature attitude and they bounce back, they are teaching life skills. They are learning life skills at the same time that they're learning the sport skills. And what a great framework for the rest of their life. So you're actually turning the sport that they're learning, tennis, into a framework where they can learn new things, learn new skills, and learn to get to know themselves. Because sport is a great way to getting to know yourself and learning to dig deep. And in a way, their own independence is starting to show, because this is their sport. I'm very critically important. I'm emphasizing certain key things. Their sport. This is where they slowly show a little bit of independence from you. So please give them the room to be independent. Okay, next point. Very often I have a question. Please help. How do I get my child interested in tennis, in sport, in anything? That's one issue, which is an interest, or we call it an ignition problem. And that is an area that we're going to go into called the Talent Code, which is a great author has made a great book called Daniel Coyle, called The Talent Code. Great insight on how to motivate talent and to get talent stimulated in a certain area. Another thing is, how do I get my child to follow through and keep trying even when things get tough? Okay, so both of these can be answered in a few ways. First of all, you've got to create motivational events. So this is for that first problem, where how do you get them interest? Create a motivational event. So there's events in your area. Sometimes here in Philadelphia, we have the Phillies, we have the 76ers, and we have some great tennis players too. We have great musical artists. We have great, so there's a whole bunch of situations where we can drive to and show your child the best performers. And there's a certain atmosphere, there's a certain glory, there's a certain, the whole, it's a lot of pizzazz. That's one thing. Two, there's an indirect tie. You can do also a little bit local. So your local school, a high school, if they have a high school tennis team, go with your child and watch the high school team for a little bit. Really get the best part of the practice where they're all doing war cries and there's a booster going and there's an energy to it. And then once you get a little taste in that flavor, you leave. Give them a taste of it and then away. Now that leads into the next one, which is called the taste then take away cell. Now very often if you try to chase somebody or they feel like you're a predator and you're pushing, you're forcing your will on them, they're going to run away. But if you give them a little taste of something that they really want, like give them to hit 1 or 2 tennis balls and then say, oh, that's enough, and then just walk off the court, and they're going to nag and they're going to moan and they're going to complain, great. You're giving them a taste of what you want them to taste and then move away, and they're going to want to stay longer because they're going to resist it and it becomes their thing, not your thing. So this also starts promoting this independence streak, which is great for helping kids learn independence, self-reliance, you know, a whole lot of good stuff, and becoming problem solvers, self-independent problem solvers, which is great for tennis as a great environment because that's one of my specialities. Another thing is give them easy access and then say no. So give them something, give them a tennis lesson, and then keep on testing their commitments. You know, keep on telling them it's quite a lot of money, please, you got to make sure. And then sometimes just say no and put their little sister in the lesson instead of them because they're not showing the amount of interest you really want them to indicate. Therefore, they're really going to fight and really want the sport because they feel a sibling is going to take them away, and you know how motivated they are when suddenly little sister is going to take away their lesson. You can imagine the feelings. Private lessons before a clinic to give confidence. I recommend this especially for the person who's tentative. The child who is tentative and we have to work on their confidence. It's a great way to build up their confidence and everything. It's just give them a few privates before clinic. Remember, create tests. You're always testing them all the time. So you give them something and then you take it away and then you see how they react. You really want them to fight for the sport and keep on giving them little mini tests so they keep on following through and they want it, so they keep on working for access. You're testing their access. Don't want to give them everything all the time. Let them fight for access to the sport. And that is a great follow through. So when times get tough, and that's one of the questions, remember that second question, that is how you keep them to follow through in tough times. Motivational events, great. Anything local, even if you went to college in a local, let's say Penn State or wherever the local, then you take them to a Penn State tennis game because dad went there and there's a tennis match and oh, maybe I can go to college. Oh, I'd love to play tennis. And there's this whole family link, which is also very important and very exciting for some kids. Especially if you want to encourage the college route and then maybe pro circuit versus the let's turn pro and ignore, you know, educational purposes. You know, really want them to go through the college first before they do anything else. And remember, another key point, reward effort and attitude. Please, all the time, effort and attitude. Great.